Alright, so Dan Crenshaw, we all know who he is. In fact, I just criticized Hassan Piker from the Young Turks for his ridiculous tirade on the guy, where he talks about how Crenshaw must have had Mujahideen fornicate with his eye hole. Pretty lame, immature nonsense, if you ask me. But now, I am here to criticize Dan Crenshaw in a way that I think an adult should. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he couldn't be brought to be in favor of marijuana legalization. He sort of hems and haws over it, says it's not a hill he wants to die on, and basically gives some lukewarm answers, mainly having to do with needing to see the data and what effects state legalization would have before he would decide what policy he would advocate for here. Perhaps this is me being a hardliner, but I call BS on this. Dan Crenshaw is a self-avowed small government guy. What could more clearly be an instance in which government has engaged in perhaps an obscene overreach than what it has done in regards to marijuana? It can actually be compared with firearms in some regard. If you could show that gun legislation would decrease gun violence by, let's say, 5%, that still would not justify gun laws. You would still be punishing and stripping the natural rights of millions of innocent people. Or let's say you pass laws forbidding all forms of extreme speech as defined by the government. Some of the speech you stifle really might be useless, harmful, or hurtful speech filled with bad ideas. Laws against speech might actually suppress some dangerous speech. But that doesn't mean you do it, because of course it would be an affront against people's natural rights. It's a guarantee you would be punishing some innocent people with good ideas that might have just been deemed extreme by the government for no good reason. Case in point, you could probably diminish violence by placing a monitored camera in every home and military personnel on every block in every city. That doesn't mean you do it, even though it might diminish violence. You see, these are all arguments I've heard from Crenshaw, except for that last one, but they're good arguments, very logical, consistent, and properly fleshed out. Well, the same goes for marijuana. Even if some laws keep someone from smoking marijuana in some situation, and even perhaps it keeps them from getting behind the wheel while under the influence, that law is still imposed on hundreds of millions of people and will by near definition be used against innocent people and responsible people and lead them into a jail cell. So the law is no good. And for someone like Dan Crenshaw, who again claims to be all about that small, limited, tightly bound government, marijuana should be the easiest issue to see how government has screwed the situation up even worse, enriched violent drug cartels, and ruined the lives of innocent people to a far greater degree than marijuana in and of itself ever could. So all Crenshaw needs to do is take all those arguments I outlined before and replace the word gun or speech with marijuana. And there you go. You've got some solid argument for marijuana legalization. There is no need to wait for some data to come out to come to the conclusion that we should stop throwing people into jail cells over a plant that makes you feel funny. But that's all for now. Like, subscribe, share the video, and take it easy.